Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and wait. Don't worry, this is not going to be a Mercy hate fest. I feel like a lot of people are probably coming into this video thinking, I love Mercy. Mercy's great. I love having supports on my team, and especially Mercy's. And I do actually completely agree. I love Mercy players. I love Mercy. I love having a support person on my team. I appreciate it so much, and having someone take a role that many others will not take. However, I do need to mention a few things that a lot of the players do that is pretty stinking frustrating to me, and some of the things that I feel like just a lot of them do that I hope that maybe could be sometimes fixed in the future. With that said, again though, I do really like the character. I'm very thankful for all you guys that are playing this character, but yeah, let's just get started. First off, one thing that I feel like is very common with Mercy mains, that I feel like doesn't really happen with way too many other mains, is that they seem to expect that they can hard carry as a full support, and then a lot feel disappointed when they can't. Now, I'd say that Mercy is very different than a lot of the other supports. Pretty much every other support in the game has good disengage, or pretty decent damage, or something in between. They have a lot of pick potential, or at least a decent amount, can increase damage, can do at least something else, that can get you a lot of kills and maybe rack you up a few wins. But with Mercy, you are the supporting support. That is just what you're doing. You're helping other people do better, and if your team really isn't doing the best, you're gonna have some problems. And I feel like a big problem some people have is the fact that they just can't accept that sometimes your team's not going to be great every single game. Of course, other games, they could be amazing and could go super well with you, but some games, it's just not going to be great. In some games, you're just going to have to go in there, carry as hard as you possibly can, and just take out whatever you can. I feel like a lot of people just have the idea that you can carry every single game with every single character. And while I feel like you can definitely carry quite a few games with Mercy, you should be in there, you should just be playing, trying your best, but not being like angry when you get into a game and realize that you can't hard carry as a support. They still can carry quite a bit, but you can't like 100% put everyone on your back. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people just kind of expect, but something that you really shouldn't. You shouldn't really be playing her for that exact reason. Another thing that I'd like to say is that I feel like a lot of these Mercy players just won't simply play other characters, which in a lot of cases is pretty fine. The only problem comes is that Mercy is pretty situational, or at least she was until the Lucio buff nerfs, I guess. But the problem is that also makes her feel kind of weak when you're playing Mercy at the wrong time, and it can make a lot of Mercy players feel like Mercy is just a weak character. She's pretty situational, and of course a lot of times on offense or defense, certain maps she just doesn't work way too well. She just gets picked off way too easily, and maybe they're just not really made too many good times to get revives and other stuff like that, just good places to shift around. But I see these Mercy players still playing her every single game and not playing anyone else. And while that's fine, while you can do that, I'm gonna say if you are getting angry that you're losing some games, you can't get so angry because you are just simply not switching and you're playing her when she's not always the best, which is just kind of up to you. A third thing that I'd also like to talk about is the fact that I feel like this really applies to all supports, but a lot of the times with Mercies, they expect the tanks and all the DPS to stay back and protect them from flankers. And while this is something that would be very nice, if you're in a competitive game, and especially if you're in something like Overwatch competitive mode, which isn't like esports level competitive, you can expect your team to try your best to try to help you, but you shouldn't expect them to put all their attention on you and help you 24/7, especially if you're not really asking for help, or if you're not mainly standing right next to them and then initially calling out that you need help. A lot of the times it'll be kind of hard for them to help you. If you're playing someone like McCree and you really aren't the best player in the world, but you still can aim pretty well, you know, you're shooting the enemy team, you're doing decent damage, but at the same time, if a Mercy calls for help, sometimes you might not be able to turn around, instantly help her, and then turn back around again. Of course, that would be the most optimal play. But I feel like a lot of people, especially when you're Mercy and when you can really watch your team play, you just kind of find a lot of mistakes that's going on. You find a lot of times when they could have helped you, but they didn't, and a lot of other stuff that you really could just shift the blame to other players, which can be decently, oriented, a lot of the times it isn't always your fault. But you can try your very best to make it as easy as possible for these people to help you. If you're quite close to your tanks, but just barely far enough back that you can't get like Reinhardt shifted, and if you're quite close to your DPS, a lot of the times they're going to help you a lot more than if you're very far back. Sometimes you might think it's a little bit less safe than it would normally be, but as Mercy, you can usually do decent, and of course you can just shift back if anything goes wrong. You just kind of have to realize that as a player that isn't at the top esports level, a DPS or a tank, you're trying your best, but you might not always be able to pull out these amazing plays to save you, so just try to make it as easy as possible for those guys, and they're going to try to save you like 99 times out of 10, but sometimes they just won't, so you just kind of have to take that. Next, I also want to say something. a lot of you guys seem to be giving up when your DPS is doing really, really bad. And of course, this really kind of happens with everyone, really tanks and also supports. But I feel like with Mercy in particular, it's, again, like similar to the last thing, easy to give up when your DPS is doing bad. Because you can't do your own DPS of your own. You can't get picks of your own, really, and you can't really do anything like that. It kind of makes you put a lot of pressure on your DPS because they have to do well, because otherwise you can't really help them do that great at their job. The problem comes not when, your DPS is doing bad, that just kind of happens sometimes. The problem comes with me is when a lot of Mercy players are complaining about how bad their DPS is doing, even when their other teammates are doing okay or even really, really well. A lot of the times I've had games where the other supports are doing really well, a lot of the tanks are doing really well, or even one of the two DPS are doing really, really well, but the Mercy seems to give up because this one guy isn't doing that amazing. Again, I'd say just sometimes lower your expectations just a little bit for your teammates. Expect for them to try their best, to do as well as they possibly can, but not to pull off insane plays every single second, and of course they might get picked sometimes or some other times as well. It just kind of happens. Just kind of remind to yourself, if anyone on your team's doing good, if even half your team's doing good, just follow those guys' example, help them out, and just kind of let your other players do whatever the heck they're trying to do, and just kind of continue from there. And the final thing that I don't know, maybe it's just me with the Mercy players I've played, is that they don't think that they can achieve high ranks with their character, so they don't ever play her in competitive. Now, this is a thing that's really a pet peeve for me. I love when people play the character that they like to play in competitive. I think that that makes the game a lot more interesting, a lot more character diversity, and just kind of goes on from there. But I've met many Mercy players that simply don't think the Mercy will ever be viable or ever really playable in competitive. So what they do is they play Mercy a ton on quick play, really like the character, and then go into competitive and switch to Ana, switch to Lucio, switch to Zen, really just switch to anybody else. I'd say if you're playing the character and if you do like her, just keep her up in competitive. Of course, it'll go up and down. You will have your ups and downs in your gameplay. And of course, with your team's gameplay a lot. But you can really enjoy it, and of course you can carry some games with this character. We have a few players actually that are top 500 and even top 100 Mercies, so if they can do it, I believe that some of you guys can do it as well. Just don't underestimate your character. There's so much that she can do, and especially now with the Lucio change, I feel like we might be seeing her just a little bit more. And there you go, guys. That's at least my own little complaints about what some people might hate about Mercy players, Mercy mains in some situations. Of course, maybe some of these will apply to you, or maybe none of them will apply to you, in which case, good for you. You're doing well. But yeah, that's just at least my own opinions. As always, though, guys, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to tell me down in the comment section down below. Leave who you want me to talk about for the next video. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and have a wonderful day.